Welcome to Imperfect Genius, the podcast that provides technical advice on effectively navigating the business development journey and offers advice on building successful careers in the tech industry. I'm your host, Rachel Foster, a tech professional, educator, and entrepreneur. And apparently I don't have a voice today. I don't know why. Today, I am joined by friend and former colleague, Rita Hill. We work together at a SaaS company, and we'll get into it. Let me just say welcome, Rita. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I am doing great. I'm so happy to be here. I have been looking forward to this since you literally told me about this idea a couple years ago now. So
I know
I'm just
so
excited
that's
that
what I
we're
was
finally
going to
making it
say.
happen.
Right. No, that's what I was going to say. So just for the listeners, just to sort of like pull back the curtain a little bit. So 2 years wow, has it been 2 years? Yeah, it's
Oh my
been 2 years. So
God,
2 years
it's been
ago,
almost 2 years.
yeah. It'll be 2 years next month. So 2 years ago, when I was leaving corporate America to focus on the business exclusively, I did like my sort of like goodbye tour, all saying goodbye to everybody. And Rita and I used to work on the same team and working with developer relations, and she specifically worked with the students and stuff. But anyway, so we worked on the same team. I was doing my goodbye tour, and as I was talking to everybody, I didn't promise everybody that I talked to that they would be on the podcast, but there were certain people I was like, oh, I definitely need to have you on the podcast. Now, mind you, the podcast didn't exist at that time. Like, I'm just like promising people to have them on this thing that didn't exist. I'm like, it's going to exist. And then anyway, so I had promised that. And then again, there's just life happened and there was all kinds of stuff. And then I had a bunch of people on and had forgotten to circle back with Rita. And then we ran into each other earlier this year at Render Atlanta, the tech conference. And I feel like the very first thing you said to me, Rita, you're like, hey, it's good to see you. You haven't had me on your podcast. Like, I feel like that was like the very first thing you said to me.
I'm calling you out. I'm just calling you out.
Am I remembering wrong? I was
No,
like, am I
that's pretty much how
remembering
that
wrong or is
happens.
that
You're
what
like,
happened?
hey, long time no see. Yeah, so thought I was gonna be on an episode of the podcast.
So what's up with that? Did you just lie to me or what? So I was like, no, we're definitely gonna do it. And we hung out a little bit because you were doing a session and I just hung out in your session for a little bit. But I
Yeah.
was like, no, we're definitely gonna do it. And then I don't know, it was a couple months ago, or maybe it was a month ago. I don't know. You and I was like, okay, let's do this. We're gonna finally do this. Let's have a conversation about what are we gonna talk about? Because yeah, we're both in tech, we're both Black women in tech, but what specifically do we want to talk about? And you told me something that I didn't know. You told me about like how you got into tech, and it just completely blew my mind because I did not know that story about you. And I was like, well, that's clearly what we need to talk about then. So that's what I want to talk about today. But before we get into that, I kind of want to start with the end so that the audience knows like where the story is going. But so tell us what your current role is, and then let's go back in time. We'll do like the go back in time and talk about how you actually got into tech.
All right. Yeah. So I actually also just left that same company that Rachel is talking about, and I'm taking on a new role as a community director. So I'm kind of back in the startup space again, which is pretty interesting. So I am now a community director for AI focused company. But what we do is we focus on using AI agents to build government solutions to help, like help the government be more efficient and not in, a certain president's ideology of being efficient, but help them like get things done while also encouraging folks to leverage like public data and things like that to build solutions to help solve problems in their own communities. So I'm actually like really excited about it. Being former military, I know how the government works. Things are painful, things are slow to adapt. But working for a company that's helped break that barrier and really improve like day-to-day, everyday processes and help just some of the different technology, like not technologies, but help some of the different things that, shape our local county governments is amazing. Like that's where I always believe like change really needs to start at the like local level. And the more like we're doing things at that local level, the more the folks that have the power at the local level can shape the things across the country. So I really love the work that I'm doing now. I'm really excited to help others also look in their communities and look in their local cities and counties and be like, hey, like I need to get information about this and like this doesn't seem like readily available or it's somewhere hidden on like a site. Like how can I create something so my fellow citizens can get the information that we need about what's happening locally for us. So it's really exciting.
That's so amazing. I really love that for you. And I wanted you to tell that story or tell, talk about what you're doing currently. Because again, I think it's just gonna make your story about how you got there so much more impressive to know the ending first. So now let's go back in time and let's talk about how did you like so let's start from the beginning. Like, what did you originally want to do, like, from a career perspective when you were in school, and then how did you decide to be in tech? That you wanted to be in tech, and then how did that happen? So let's start there.
Oh my gosh. So let's see, where's probably like a good place to start? Actually, when I was younger, I thought I was going to do a couple of different things. I had like a really quirky fashion sense. So there was a part of me that like, maybe I like move to New York and work in fashion. I got to
Yeah.
go to New York in like my middle school years and was just like, I grew up in like suburbia in Northern Virginia. So very much like surrounded by families who parents either worked for the government directly or they're military. I grew up in a city called Manassas, Virginia, which is like suburbia at its core, like white picket fences. Everyone has their 2.5 kids. The school systems are really great just because of the location and again the families that were in there. AOL was actually headquartered about like 20 minutes away
Oh, wow.
near in what's called Chantilly, Virginia. So there was just a lot of like, which in hindsight, like there was a lot of money that was like coming into like the local counties in Northern Virginia. And, it made the schools great. Like the schools had a lot of opportunities, a lot of technology um, that came in like the late 90s, early 2000s that I knew friends like later on didn't have that kind of access. So like we had gateway computers when I was in first grade, like already like your traditional
Wow.
PCs. Yeah. And they were teaching us how to type and use like all the different Microsoft suites and stuff by the time we were like in second grade. It
Yeah.
blew my mind. So yeah, so with that being said, like I had like technology exposed to me like really young, which I'm really like thankful for in hindsight, living where I lived and had that opportunity. But I was like kind of wanted to like maybe I'll go to work in fashion and go to New York. And then like for a long time I wanted to be a lawyer. Um,
Mm.
Also not really sure why, because I actually don't like debating people. Like I actually don't like doing
So
that.
that's interesting.
But I think, this kind of leads into like my wanting to make societal change. I think as a young kid, I had that desire and it's kind of led into like the work that I do now and that I have been
Mm.
doing for the last few years. So of my career has been like focused more on
Okay.
that kind of stuff. Like how do we help others in like our communities, in our backgrounds within America, things like that.
Right.
So with that, like by the time I was in middle school, they were already teaching us how to like create web pages. Like my very first web
Mm.
page I created was on Microsoft Front Page when I was in 8th grade. And I
I
made,
remember
and I
front
made like a
page.
whole
Oh,
like
wow.
solar system based thing.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
that's when like Zanga and
I
God, what are some of
remember.
the other sites? Like Zanga, MySpace were like huge.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
we were all
Yep.
developers, but didn't really like know what we were doing. And I was
Right.
that person that was going in and like I would look at different layouts or different customizations and I would figure out like, okay, but I want to use like I want my mouse to look like this and I want my page to scroll like this and I want to like make these things like how did I do that? And I would like take the time to figure out how to write HTML and CSS. Um,
Mhm,
so the
mhm.
bug was always there and again at the time I kind of had these like other paths that I wanted to do, but technology like just being able to like look at it and be like, hey, like if I want to make changes to something that I see and make it like work for me, then like how do I do that, right?
Mhm.
So I actually graduated during the recession in 2008. So that was a very, very bleak time for everyone. Jobs are really hard
Ugh,
to
I
get.
remember
And
vividly.
yes, like it was a really bad time. And, I had a lot of friends who took like gap years because it was like, oh, cool. Like we're supposed to go to college, get into all this debt. And then I'm going to like make a job that pays $10 an hour. Like, how am I going to pay off these loans?
Right,
So a lot of friends took
right.
some time off to kind of figure out, should I do a trade instead? Should I, should I consider other options? What I was thinking if like the job market looks the way it does, right? So took my gap year and then I ended up joining the military. And Well, I tell people it's
Mm,
completely random, but it's not. Like my grandfather was a Vietnam vet, and he became permanently disabled in his like early 20s. But he would say all the time, like, he was able to use his GI Bill to pay for the house I grew up in. And, he got all kinds of benefits and things for his service. And he said, if it wasn't for me getting injured, like I would have stayed in my entire, I would have done like my 20 years
oh,
retired and things like that.
right,
And with the
right.
way the economy was at the time and the fact that there was like a reserve option, like I already knew, like, I don't think full time's for me. Um,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, I was like, I don't want to do that. So I joined the Army Reserve it ended up joining the Army Reserve. And they were also offering like student loan repayment. And like I got my GI Bill. And then when I finished my service, I got my VA loan, which helped me buy my first house. And um, so there was a lot of benefits there that, especially during that time, which in hindsight, we know how they get you in. Like, we need people. Like,
Yeah,
the
yeah, no,
economy
it's true,
sucks. Here
it's
are all
true.
these benefits you can get. Yeah, you should sign up. Um,
Right, yeah,
it definitely seemed like a
true.
great option to, okay, like job market's bleak. But like here's an option that I can always have to go full time if I need to. Because that option was always available to me,
Mhm,
to go full time
right,
if like things don't shape out. And there's a lot of benefits here that'll still allow me to like have an education, support my family, and things like that. So um trying to move this now a little bit further.
No,
So yeah,
you're
now all of a
good,
sudden I'm in the
this is
military.
fascinating. Yeah,
And my
yeah.
job actually was my job in the military. I was a chemical operations specialist, and my unit
'Cause I was gonna
specialized in.
ask, I was gonna say, did you do tech in the military? Okay,
I,
well, go
I,
ahead,
I
no, but no, okay.
I did in a way. So yeah, my job was a chemical operations specialist, and my unit specialized in biological agent surveillance. And that's a lot of words to say that we had a big fancy Humvee that had like a special computer inside. So in the event of like some type of like, well, biological agents, which are like against like, yeah, those breaking
Yeah,
some Geneva
yeah, no, I
Convention
know what
rules
you mean, yeah,
here. Yeah, so
yeah,
in the event that something like that happened, we would be able to safely detect what's going on, and then let people know what to do so we can protect the environment and people around us. But like chemical operations, like literally I'm trained to go into a hazmat suit and do all kinds of crazy stuff inside of a hazmat suit. I did most of my training of that. So if there was like a chemical spill on the highway, or some other major like spill or anything like that, worst case scenario, a chemical like agent gone off due to an enemy, I would be able to like go in a hazmat suit, go ahead and collect the evidence that I need, and then do like incident response, so that way we could safely protect again the people surrounding the area, the environment, um, and just make sure we can mitigate damage as much as possible. So yeah, a lot of fancy
right,
computers to
right,
help you like detect these agents. But with the military, there's always like the paperwork, right? There's always the paperwork and
right,
all of the other like important information that
right,
you need to
yeah,
capture. So
right,
I had a sergeant that was full time at our unit, and he was before he went full time, because he started off also as part time. He used to work at, I think, one of the Apple stores in New York City, I believe. And he was like,
oh, okay,
very into tech, very like techie. And he was talking about like, showing me all the different scripts and things that he wrote to like automate some of the processes that had to do for his everyday work. And I was just like, okay, like that's, I think, when the light bulb moment clicked off for
like the
me,
little
where it
light
was just
bulb went
like,
off, yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I was just like, I like solving problems. Like this is great. Like we have a problem. Well, yeah, we have a problem, right? It's just like, okay, yeah. Like government tools are not as efficient, or they just don't have the knowledge of like the ideas of how we can use technology to like speed up a lot of these processes, manage our personnel data, manage training and things like that. And the more I like talked to him, the more I was just like, yeah, like this is the kind of stuff I want to do. Like technology was just like exponentially growing at that point, right? So now we're like early 2010s by the time now this story has hit, right? So we're seeing things
okay, okay,
exponentially
okay,
grow phones are going from like our little flip phones where I can change the color background from 6 colors to like full on computers in our hand, right? Um,
Right, exactly, yeah.
at that time,
I
yeah.
know, I
And
remember that, like, the limited, like, customization options.
yes. Oh, my backlight's green now. Like, this is cool. Like, I can change it to yellow. Like, it works. This is great. Um, so that's when like the bulb kind of went off, right? Like I said, I wanted to be a lawyer in my past. And now like the more that I think about it, it was like, oh, like I just want to help solve problems. And I was fully
Right,
seeing how like the technology that we used in the military, as well as like what was like constantly being published in the news and being developed and like the technological advances that were happening. I was like, no, like technology is really going to change things. And if I want to have a career outside of the military or, you know, whatever in the private sector, like I actually need to get up to date with what's happening right now. And if I can do that, then like I can, you know, I can be a part of the solution, which which was like, yeah, that moment where I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do for a job. So I learned a lot from
yeah.
him during the time that like he was in our unit and he would like teach me stuff and we would like share like different things we were reading. We would talk about like different like frameworks and different languages that were becoming really popular. Um, and then around this time, I was working in banking as my civilian job, and I was just like, yeah, I don't really want to do this. People don't like when you like people are gonna get mad at you for two reasons. It's going to be your food, which I did food service all throughout high school and before I joined the military. It's your food and your money. Like people are going to be mad.
Yeah,
It's one of those two things. And I worked in both sectors for
that's real.
years. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do this. So thinking about like, hey, you know, there's software engineering and I do have like my GI Bill to use and I have student loan repayment. Like, is that something I can look into? The prices still seemed really high, and tech boot camps were starting to pop up. I can't remember the names of the two big ones that started. I think it was like Flatiron and somewhere else. One of them has
Mhm.
since closed. But technical boot camps were starting, but the cost was still really high and they weren't like certified. So I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to teach myself. So
There
I
you go.
spent, yeah. So at this time, a lot of life things happened. Me and my ex-husband split up. He was my high school sweetheart of almost a decade. So I'm like a single mom now of two young kids. And I'm like, you know, this career change is really going to change my life. Like, I fully believe that this is where I need to be. And not only will I be doing something that I enjoy, but it's also going to allow me to provide for my kids the life that I've always wanted. So while I was still working in banking, you know, after my work day, come home with the kids, spend time with them, put them to bed. I would stay up until their bedtime was around like 7. I was on my computer from like 8 to 11, like every night, watching whatever YouTube videos I could. And at that time, they're all still bad. Programming was still like really new to like a general audience
Yeah,
outside of like the tech companies, right? Um,
right,
so, and like MySpace was starting, I had died out around this time. Facebook was starting to become big, but as we know, it was like walled, right? Like you couldn't customize your Facebook
right,
like I could with Instagram. So there wasn't that, and
right.
you know, Zanga and a lot of the other sites started to disappear. So I didn't have that ability to like practice and learn. And ID, like there weren't a lot of like public IDs or anything like that either, right? So I didn't really have that ability to really practice. So I had to go on YouTube and find videos and then install a bunch of stuff on my computer. I remember half the stuff I didn't even know what I was installing. Like I knew it was a tool, like it wasn't like some virus or something. Like I knew it was a tool, I knew it was a
Right,
framework.
right,
I just like was just like, oh, engineers are using this. Like I should have this on my computer and like this will help me create like a full stack application, you know? Um,
mhm,
I did that for about 9 months, like almost every night, like a couple nights a week, like put my kids to bed and
mhm,
I was teaching myself how to code. I was trying to figure out, hey, like, what is like my stack going to be? What am I going to learn right now that's going to help me get my foot in the door? So, so after about
right.
9 months, I go on the Richmond subreddit one day because I go on this Richmond subreddit every day.
This is the
Um,
crazy part, okay. Okay,
yeah. So
yeah,
now we are at around 2014-ish, 2014. I believe 2014,
Okay.
2015. And no, it was definitely 2014. Um, so I go on the Richmond subreddit one day, and there's this guy that's like, hey, I'm breaking into tech. He's doing more of the like IT related stuff. So like networking, things like that. He's like, I'm trying to switch careers and I don't know how to, like what companies should I start looking at in order to do this? So Richmond, like one of the biggest employers is Capital One. Capital One was founded here in Richmond, Virginia. They had two huge campuses. They still have one of them, which is like their tech campus. Their call center campus is gone, but
Mm.
they were a huge employer. But it was still really hard to get your foot in the door, right? Unless you had a degree from a university. So people were like, hey, like if you happen to know someone at Capital One, they could probably help you get in. Them, Anthem, and then I'm trying to Snag a Job. Snag a Job. I don't even know if that still exists. But Snag a Job also had a huge office here in Richmond
I
too.
don't
So
think it
those were
does.
like,
I think it's gone.
yeah, I was like, I think it's gone now. But yeah, they were a huge employer. You could see it off of the 295, like the sign for the Snag a Job office and stuff. So they were the biggest like tech employers, right? So people were just, just making suggestions to this Reddit user on like how they can try to get a foot in the door, which was basically like, hey, here are these companies, like try to find someone that will be willing to talk to you and then eventually refer you, right? And then someone makes a comment, and this comment goes, I am actually looking for a PHP developer. If you happen to know PHP, I would be happy to give you some projects to at least help you like build a portfolio that would also help you get your foot in the door somewhere. I've done this for like a couple of people before, like for them to be like an intern for me. So I'd be happy to help. And I kept looking at that post and I'm like, I don't know what PHP is. Like, I know that Facebook, I was like, I know Facebook runs
It
on
wasn't even
PHP.
like wait, the funny thing is, it wasn't even like you were like, "Oh, I know this, I can do this." You're like, "What is PHP?"
Yeah, I was like, what is PHP? Other than Facebook ran off of, that's all I knew of PHP.
Right.
Like, I figured it was a language. That's what I figured.
Mhm.
But like, I couldn't tell you a
Yeah.
single thing about it. Like, nothing other than that
Right.
Facebook. I see Facebook.php in the URL when I run Facebook.
Right, right.
And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to ask him, like, because at this point, it's been 9 months. I've realized that like front end development was like my specialty. I had created like a couple little websites and some like demo apps and stuff. So I knew that was like my expertise, what my expertise was going to be. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm just going to ask him for a job.
I
I'm
mean,
like, I'm gonna ask him
I
for a job.
love the confidence. The confidence, like, I don't know what this PHP thing is, but I'm gonna ask for this job. Like, because I know I can figure it out. I love that. I
The cool
absolutely
thing is,
love
I
that. I
definitely
love the
did not ask him
confidence.
to
I
write
was like, "Go
PHP,
ahead."
and I made it clear in my DM to him on Reddit that like, or PM, they call them PMs, private message. I made it very clear that like, look, I don't know what PHP is, but I do know how to write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I do have a couple of websites that I've created, like to kind of show you where my skills are. Would you be like, do you have a need for a front end developer? And it was amazing because he was like, I'm actually really bad on the front end. Let's talk.
Oh, nice. Nice. I love that you were honest. You're like, "Look, I'm not even gonna lie and say that I know PHP. I want you to know that I don't know that. I know you're asking for that, and I don't know it. However, here are the things that I do know. Here's the opportunity I'm looking for. Can we help each other out?" And he basically was like, "Yeah, let's have a conversation." So, I guess the conversation went well, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, since we're like on this podcast and we're chatting, I'm actually going to tell you like the behind the scenes that I don't tell people just because it's like
Oh, I love
hilarious
this. This is the best part. Yeah.
and also kids don't do what I'm about to tell you I did. Don't do this. Like, don't do this.
Love the warning.
Um, yeah, here's your warning. Don't do this. So he was like, I build e-commerce applications for clients. I run my own studio. And I really don't like doing the front end piece. So like this would be perfect. he was like, when would you be willing to come in and, we can have a conversation and talk a little bit about like your experience. So I gave him a date. I think it was like that following week. And then he gave me an address. And I look at the address and it's like right down the street from me. And I'm like, I know these apartments. Do they also have like office, like, that mixed residential office space that I'll place? I was like, do they have offices in
Right.
there? Maybe they do. Like, maybe like this is fun. So,
Oh
the day
my
before I
goodness.
come in, he follows up on Reddit. I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna, I'll see you tomorrow. So I go to these apartments and, he has like the doorbell code and like buzzes me in and stuff. And then I go to his apartment, I knock on the door. Or actually, he let me know the door was open. So I just knocked before I walked in. And I'm like, this is an apartment. Like I am in someone's house.
You're like, this is not an office.
This is not an office. I am in someone's apartment. I'm in someone's house. And I kept walking like back towards the living room and kitchen area. And he's actually there with two other of his employees. And they all like, he has like a huge living room where he has his desk and like other desks and areas set up. And he like turned his living room to a home office. So I was like, cool.
Interesting.
Like I'm not going to get kidnapped today. Like
Today. That was
today
so
I am
again,
not
yeah,
going to die. Like he had
that
like a
was
huge
so kind of
whiteboard
crazy
on
to
one wall, and I got to meet. It was like Mike, and I forgot the other guy's name at the time, Ryan, I
what year
believe.
was this?
Huh?
What year was this?
2014.
Okay, so this is so this is long before the pandemic and before everybody's working from home and it's a normal thing. Because I feel like my first business, which ended and during the recession, like 2008, 2010 ish, or whatever. Anyway, my first business was I worked from home. I had a home office, but when I would interview, and I was hiring certified teachers to go teach in schools. When I would interview, I would go to like coffee shops. I would go to like Starbucks or I'd go to a library. I would go somewhere like else other I wouldn't invite people to my home for for interviews because I'm like, they're gonna think this is crazy. But he was like, nope, just come to my
Yeah,
apartment.
just come to
So
my
like I'm
apartment.
just
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, this is fine. Like I'm gonna
you're
go
like,
to
this
this.
is fine. Okay.
But I
Wow.
think it had a lot to do with just like Richmond culture. Like
Yeah.
Richmond, like everyone is super friendly here. Um, And yeah, like I said, we actually lived in the same neighborhood. Like I knew those apartments. They were literally like
Yeah.
2 blocks or so away from my house.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, okay, like this is a safe area. I can see from your background, you're just like a typical techie bro. Like I felt like
Yeah.
I guess I
Yeah.
feel like I had enough like discernment of just like, while I don't know if these are like mixed use offices, residential, I feel safe enough to at least attempt this. I did tell someone where I was
Right. Right.
going. I did do
Oh,
that.
that's smart. That's very
Yeah,
smart.
but
Okay.
also kids, like I said, like
Don't do
don't do what
this.
I just did. Meet
Don't
someone in a public
don't
place,
try this
please.
at home.
Don't do this at
That is our
all.
public service announcement for the day.
Yeah,
Do
public
not do
service
this.
announcement. Don't meet random people from Reddit in their house for the very first time you're meeting them. Don't do that. Um,
No, do not do that.
yeah. So what he did
But
was
it
after we
turned out
chatted,
okay.
it
Okay.
did. After we chatted for a little bit, he gave me like, hey, here's this page I actually want to redo for one of our clients. Could you just spend an hour like giving me an idea of what you would do, and then we can like look at your code together. So I did, and he was just like, wow, actually, this is like really good. Can you come back tomorrow?
Nice.
I was like, I will. And I quit my job at the bank that next day.
Wow, you didn't even have an offer letter in hand. You're like, "Okay, I'm done here."
No, he gave me my contract the next day. I saw him and I quit my job that evening at the bank.
Very cool. Very cool. That is amazing. And how long did you do that job?
So I worked for him for about 2 years, and then I got an opportunity to work at a startup in Los Angeles. So I ended up leaving Virginia, moving to Los Angeles for about a year and a half. I worked for 2 startups that both ended up closing up shop. So I was like, okay, cool. And I learned about, the startup life was great because at this point I'm now like 25. I'm like hitting my mid 20s, like 25, 26.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like startup life was cool. Like this was good for my development, but I'm like a young mom in
Yeah.
California in like one of the most expensive cities in the United States. Like
Yeah.
this isn't this isn't like stable. And at this
Yeah.
time now, then I've had about like 4 years of experience in tech. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like I got some experience. I can go back to Virginia and I can, finally like show people that I'm ready to work for like bigger companies and things like that.
Right.
And his name is Carl Beckelheimer. He stayed my mentor throughout like my time in Los Angeles. He ended up closing up shop and getting like a really great consulting gig with IBM and then moved to HCL. He stayed my mentor throughout this entire time. In fact, to this day, we are still like close friends. And he lives in Seattle now. He moved out to Seattle, doing work for IBM, and then again, like moved to HCL. Uh,
That's amazing.
does like consulting and does great. And he's now like starting a family,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah. And I just talked to him a couple weeks ago while he was in Spain and he was like
That is
updating me on the family and stuff. Yeah, it's great. Like, so yeah, he, for now, like the 11, 12 years now that I've been in tech, going on 12 years next year,
yeah.
he has still continued to remain like just like a great mentor and wonderful person in my life, that's just helped me whenever I've had like doubts or, hey, I want to like move into this sector of tech. Like, what would you recommend that I do? And things like that. And
Yeah.
he's also offered me opportunities like, hey, if you want to come work with me again, like, let's do this. Like, I'll refer you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done actually a couple projects for some side businesses he's had too. He's had me
Yeah.
like, hey, Rita, can you like build something up for me for this web page that I
Right.
can use for my clients? So it's been great. Um,
That's amazing. And I wanna focus on or just like comment on what you just said just now because I recorded an episode a few episodes back. It was about imposter syndrome, but there was a story that I told in there about how like I was talking to this so-called mentor about how do I get my corporate gigs, and I was like, it's referrals. It's people that I've worked with before who know my work, and they're like, hey, I need somebody to do X, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. Because I've got my my business, so I can just do corp to corp. I don't have to be in a W-2 employee. I can just do corp to corp, whatever. Anyway, my point is when you make those solid relationships and you do good work together and you keep those relationships beyond when you're not working together anymore, even when you move on and you keep those relationships, that's you can go back to that well. Not to say like you're using people or anything like that, but you can go back to that well and you can say, hey, can you refer me? Or oh, I'm looking at doing this. Do you know anybody over here? Or if they've got a job, they're like, hey, I need some help with XYZ. I know you're good at this. Can you come help me out on this project? Like it's those relationships that keep you moving forward. Because the reason I bring that up is I was going to say, this that the job market in tech right now is really horrible.
oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and so, I get a lot of questions from young people about how do you get into tech or what do you do in this job market? And it's really just the relationship. It's the networking. It's the relationships you make. It's the chances that you take. But like I say, it's really the connection with other people and having those conversations because just finding a job listing online and applying, that's 9 times out of 10, that's not how you're going to get a job. That is
No.
not how you're going to find a job. So I was going to ask you like what your advice, since you had such a non-traditional entrance into the tech space, what would your recommendation be to folks who are trying to get started in tech right now and how to get into tech and this because the market is terrible right now.
Man, it's so hard too because you know, like since my initial entry back in like 2014, like a lot has changed. A lot has
Mhm.
changed. So like tech boot camps have exponentially grown. So I've actually worked for a number of those post like LA startup time. Um a lot of the so I used to teach for girl development. I've done work with women who code. Neither of those really like actually exist anymore as they were. So they used to be these like women in tech or like, people like Black, Latinx, whatever. There
Right.
were all these like
Right.
different like organizations in tech that would at least connect you with other people that are like you that could
Right.
help you. And we've seen a lot of those just unfortunately dissipate due to like post COVID, them pulling funding and things like that. So I feel like right now, a lot of the recommendations that I would tell people, even 2 years ago, a lot of the
Yeah.
recommendations, like they don't exist now. They don't,
Yeah.
unfortunately. There was like this big tech rise and this need of like getting everyone in and this like focus on like diversity, because that's how we build better products, is when more people are in the know, right? Uh,
Right.
and are a part of like building that solution. And a lot of that has like just been pulled back. The one thing I still can say is like referrals. Referrals are going to be like your way. And I always tell people about networking too, that like one of the things I didn't like about living in Los Angeles was I would still go to a lot of these different meetups for women, people of color, uh, just like, early mid-career folks, like just all kinds
Mhm.
of different events that I could go to. And one of the things I found most of the time, not all the time when I was there, but most of the time, was like people would network with you, but they were always trying to find out if you worked at one of the unicorns, right? Like, do you work at
Mhm.
Snapchat? Like, do you work at
Right.
Event Beach? Do you work at Uber? Do you work at Lyft? Like they were
Right.
trying to see if like you could help get them in to like one of the big shot places, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
Whereas like being back in Virginia, um, I can like network with people and I can actually like build a relationship with those folks. So then if I do post on LinkedIn, or if like, when I was running my nonprofit, like, hey, does anyone have any ideas for like this person? Like he's been coming to my meetup for a really long time. I can vouch for these skills that he has. Would anyone be willing to talk to him and see if they have an opening? And I can't tell you how many hiring managers and folks that would come to my meetups for my nonprofit, because they were like, "Oh, I know you're helping early career and mid level people. I'm actually a hiring manager, and like I want to have more diversity on my team, or like
Right.
I'm just having a
Right.
hard time finding like the right candidates, because either they're
Right.
like too senior for the role, or they're a little too junior, and I need like a midpoint, right?"
Mhm.
Um, so so what I will say is that like building like those authentic connections are really what's going to help you in the long run. I've From folks that have like kept in touch with me over the years and like have coffees with me every once in a while in town, or like talk to me on the phone, I don't hesitate to recommend those people at all. I unfortunately tend, because my role in tech has kind of transformed from engineering more into now technical education. You
Mhm.
have to have a like very specific skill set for that, right? Like, yeah,
Right.
you have to
Right.
be technical, but you also have to be able to like teach and create like technical content, right? So
Yeah.
I'm in like a very niche world now. So I don't typically ever have openings wherever I'm at.
Right. Right.
You have to, unless you're a former teacher that came into tech, like I can't really like help you. Or if
Right.
you don't have like teaching experience of some sort, I
Right.
can't really like do anything. But I still have tons of friends that work at a lot of the different fangs, that work at Microsoft, that work at pretty cool startups that are actually pretty stable. Like I always have folks in my community where if someone's like, "Hey Rita, like I want to get into this particular like field, but like in a tech role, like can you help me?" I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like I actually know someone that works at X. Let me see if they happen to have any openings, or at least they'll be willing to talk to you." And
Right.
those
Yeah.
folks don't hesitate for a second to at least
Yeah.
like have us spark up a conversation together. And I say, "Hey, like I have this friend, like, you know, do you want to like chat with him first? Are you okay with just putting a referral?" Because everyone's different. Some people are like, "I don't refer people I don't know because they've been
Right.
burned."
Yeah.
And
Right.
some
Yeah.
people are like, "It's okay. I don't need to talk to him. Like, I can refer him. Like,
Yeah.
Rita, I trust you.
Right.
I can trust that this person will work. I'm happy to like refer you to them." So I will say that like still go to meetups. I know like meetups have died down a lot since
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people aren't even doing video stuff anymore because of video fatigue. But still go to meetups if you can. I will recommend like to still continue to do that. More face-to-face connections. If there's any way you can build a face-to-face connection, then go ahead and do it. That's my number one recommendation for everybody. And again, like be authentic, right? Like it's okay to be like, "Hey, I know you work at a place that I want to work at." Like that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
also
Exactly.
like you want to build a connection in a way that that like even in the future, if like not working at this place is going to work out, you're going to think of me when you go to your next place,
Right. That's true.
or
Yeah.
you're going to think of me if you hear from somebody, "Hey, like I have this kind of opening," like, and I do that all the time where I'm like, "Hey, I can't help, but like I know a friend that's actually hiring for this. Like I can reach
Right.
out to her and see if she can
Right.
help you out." So that's the only advice I can give to everyone, is just continue to find ways to actually like build connections with folks.
Yeah.
And do
Yeah.
it in a way. where like you actually care,
Right, right.
because if you're
Well,
just
it's funny
sorry.
you mentioned being authentic. I'm gonna back up for the video for folks who are looking at the video. I have on my certified authentic T-shirt today. So, like, yeah, the being authentic, because people can tell when you're being
Oh
fake,
yeah,
when you're not being genuine, and you're not even listening to them. You're like, yeah, 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 just give me the thing that I want. People know that, and they don't necessarily want to refer you if that's the
they
case.
don't. No, absolutely not. And I don't like talking to people like that.
Exactly.
I don't.
Who
I
does?
won't. I won't
Yeah.
think about you again if that's the case. Because
Right.
I take referrals very seriously, even if they're not for like me and my like me at my job. Like if I'm going to tell someone about you, it's because like I really think you're going to be a good fit for what they have planned. And I've like vouched for
Right.
people several times where I've been like, they have an opening somewhere and they don't have it, but then like that same friend has an opening maybe 6 months later. And I'm like, hey, like,
Mhm.
remember that person I talked to you about? Like, this
Yeah.
would be a good fit. Like, would you be
Yeah.
interested in talking to them again? Like, I'm that
Right.
kind of person that I will continue to vouch for you, whether it's at like a different location with a different person, if it's maybe like a slightly different skill set, but like you have enough like transferable skills. Like, I'm that person that will keep going to bat for you as much as I can.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I find that you're just like, hey, I'm not really listening to your advice, or like I really don't care, like I just want a referral, then I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to vouch for you because you're already kind of showing me that like you don't really care, or you have too much hubris or too much pride, and like you're going to go into the workplace and then embarrass me. Like
Right.
you're a
Right.
referral, and I don't want
Exactly.
anyone to ever come back and be like, Rita, like you recommended this person, they were terrible. Like
Right.
I don't ever want that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Exactly. Exactly. Well,
yeah.
Rita, I know you have a hard stop, so I just want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. Do you have any upcoming conferences or speeches or any? If you want people to reach out to you, you can tell people how to reach you. If you don't, we can just end it there.
Oh no, reach out to me. I'm definitely on LinkedIn, so please go
Mm,
ahead and add me on LinkedIn. I don't post a lot, but like I just said, I see posts and stuff from friends and things all the time, and
mm.
I'm always tagging people where I'm like, "Oh, someone's hiring for something, something," and I'll be like, "Hey, like, I think this will fit for you. Like, what do you think?" So I'm really I'm really active in that way where if I see things that I think will be good fits for friends, like I'm always tagging and being like, hey, like I know you're looking for something. Is this a good fit for you?
Right.
Kind of thing. So you can find me on LinkedIn.
Right.
Um, my email is Rita at rhcreative.me. So if you ever just want to like shoot me an email and ask me some questions, hear a little bit more about my story, which I couldn't really get in, like I couldn't finish it, which is fine. Like I think the key
Yeah.
parts of just like, having some courage
We
and
can
jumping
have you back
in.
on for part two if you want.
I mean, we can do that. We can absolutely do a part
Yeah, we
two.
could do that. Yeah.
Because later on in my career, I actually I was self-employed actually when I got back from LA for 4 years. And then that's how I got into technical education actually, and how I pivoted from full-time software
Yeah.
engineering to teaching tech. And that's what I do now is all about teaching tech and
Yeah.
technical community growth. So if you ever have any questions about that and how I pivoted and all of that, like I'm happy to like dive deeper into that. And yeah, like I said, like I'm always down if you're in the Richmond area or in the Northern Virginia DMV metro area, Southern Maryland, DC. I'm always up for coffee. I'm always back up north in Northern Virginia because I grew up there and my family's still there. So I go up there pretty often. So if you ever want to like sit and have a coffee in DC, or in Alexandria, I'm always happy to meet up with folks and talk in person. Same as if you're in the Richmond, Virginia area, I'm happy to do the same as well. So yeah, anyone feel free
That
to
is
reach out
amazingly
on either of those forums, and I'm more than ecstatic to make some time for you and talk when I can.
That is very generous of you. Thank you so much for that. And to our listeners, I've been trying to spin up this speed networking. Speaking of like networking and referrals and things like that, the speed networking series. I don't have any dates right now. I will just say, just stay tuned to imperfectgenius.com for more information on that. And until next time, this is Rachel Foster reminding you why your journey may not be flawless, it can be phenomenal. We got steps